All right. Thanks to those join us live, and those will be joining us on the archive. D style hit with the one and the only Mario Munguia. How you doing, Mario?
Champ, I'm good. I'm good. I just got done with a 4-hour marathon on my own show in Fighting FX. Ran a little behind, but we're also going to do Twitch too. Been doing like Undisputed and WWE 2K and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's been fun.
All right. Watching the wrestling, so you guys don't got to put yourselves through it and watch the wrestling, and he'll talk about it for you. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
Because let me tell you something. I do not find either product, whether it's AEW, WWE, watchable, and it's not for long, sustainable periods of time. That's just me. I'm having a very hard time getting back into wrestling in any capacity, and but at least Mario Munguia is taking the hit for everybody. You know what I mean? And shout out to all the marks. They'll probably get mad at me for saying that, but what are you going to do? Look, let's just get to it, man. Both you and I, and I'm pretty sure I remember you saying this, and you have the proof right behind you, actually, not too far behind you, that Bret the Hitman Hart he was our favorite wrestler growing up. He was my favorite wrestler growing up, right? I was a Bret Hart guy, right? I am a Bret Hart disciple, if I'm honest with you, right? I have backed this dude up time after time, and I'm not necessarily saying I'm not going to keep backing him up, but we're going to react to this. And we need to have an honest assessment about Bret the Hitman Hart. Our boy's out here, man. Like he can't. If we're honest, Mario, it's. Well, let's watch it first, because we're going to have a lot to say. So let's go ahead and give this a watch, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right.
I think that Shawn and Vince were sleeping with each other. Honestly, I'm just telling you, I think I'm very close to the truth here. Is that Shawn and Vince were lovers, and that's why I'm being dead honest, and I'm telling you. We all know what the H stands for. I just, when I look back, it's like I got caught between two lovers. And I got shafted and screwed over, and Shawn was so envious and jealous of my position that he finally had to sleep with Vince to get it. And, I tell you, I say all this with absolute. I would say it to Shawn if he was right here. I would actually like to have Shawn come clean and say, "Look, we were lovers," because I'm sure they were. I have an absolute 100%. If I saw either Vince or Shawn here, I would say I think you guys were lovers.
So, and just to kind of share this image here, like I am so surprised by this, and Shawn, like there's a quote, guys, if you guys want to see it. Shawn was so envious and jealous of my position that he finally had to sleep with Vince to get it. I would say it to Shawn if he was here, if he was right here. I'd like to have Shawn come clean and say we were lovers. This is at the Johnny Pro show, whatever it's called. So, Mario, I know you've seen it already. I mean, this is kind of old news to you, but and to all of us, but we're just reacting to it here. What do you make of Bret the Hitman Hart saying, you know what, they were lovers, and that this was basically the reason he got the push and they got pushed out, and why the Montreal Screwjob happened, because they were lovers.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're right here on two fronts. It isn't new in the sense that Bret has made comments in the past insinuating, Shawn may have been, you know what I mean? And Vince might have had, sexual encounters with other wrestlers in the past. He's never, though, until recently, accused them of being lovers with each other. So while that aspect of it isn't new, this is new. And here's the thing. I think the problem with this is that it came at a time where Bret had already said a lot of other truths, really, about wrestling as it pertained to Goldberg, Vince, the lawsuit that came out, and all the different aspects, the Ring Boy scandal, all that. And he has gained a reputation of kind of being salty, right? He's gained this reputation of being like a salty old head, right? And that's like the way like younger kids reference, old heads that keep him in check. But This is not one of those things. I don't think, as cavalier as he sounded, and obviously he was playing into the joke, right? Everybody's laughing the more serious he sounds, right? And so it makes it even funnier. That's all getting lost in it. That was the reaction of the crowd. He never seemed like he was making a joke. He never seemed like he was saying anything that he thought was untoward or even untrue. And if you follow the narrative, I honestly think that there is at least reason for him to believe. I'm not saying that Mario Munguia has evidence here that he's been working on as a journalist to bust this story wide open. I'm saying that from Bret's perspective, following his narrative, yeah, they kind of seem like lovers. And real quick, one last thing I'm going to add. You go back to the 90s and you look at the gimmick that was Shawn Michaels. I'm sorry. It was perverted. It was not appropriate for anybody. It's not because
and during that time with DX, it got worse, right?
It got so much worse. Okay, he showed his pubes a lot of the times with young kids in the audience. He would do these dances where he'd pull his pants down and show his bare ass and then invite children in the ring to dance with him moments later. And Bret Hart somehow was the heel in this era too, by the way, which is crazy. But ultimately, it points to this idea that nobody was responding to this Shawn stuff. He was doing Playgirl. He was doing all these sorts of things, and he had no heat on him. How was it that he not only had no heat, but he was the one calling shots in the back with the click? Why did he have so much of Vince's trust, loyalty, and ear at a time?
We don't, and it doesn't add up, right? Look, and I'm with you. I'm not here. I don't know, obviously, if HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, was having sexual relations with that man. I don't know. Right? I have no idea. I have no clue. It may be true, might not be true. However, I just want to take a deep dive to people. Bruno Sammartino was famous for accusing Vince for having relations with wrestlers, and for wrestlers to get pushes, they have to have sexual relations with him. People have written books and have accused Vince of doing such thing. I'm not saying it's true, not true. It doesn't necessarily mean that Shawn Michaels is kind of responsible or anything. But I do wonder, like, why did Vince have such high regard, especially in those times, for Shawn Michaels? Why is it such a rush to push Shawn over Bret when you can't really base it on numbers, right?
No, not at all. Or like quality of wrestlers. He was great, but there were a lot of great talents at that time.
Well, you could always say, maybe he thought he had to look, but Shawn doesn't really fit the typical Vince McMahon stereotype, right?
Well said. If we're presenting the case, that's evidence one.
Yeah, like one, he's like frame-wise, he might be a little taller, but he has a smaller frame than Bret, right? That's number one.
He was more of a high flyer.
Yeah, Bret was considered too small. That's the reason,
he got
Hulk Hogan didn't want to put over, right? Because he was too small. Well, what was Shawn? Now, Shawn was like a toothpick next to Bret, right? So there's that element of it. He wasn't like a huge attraction or draw. The business was doing some of its worst numbers with Shawn at the top. In fact, they lost the Monday Night Wars when Shawn Michaels was champion. For some reason, people blame Bret for it. Bret was gone.
Towards bankruptcy. They were heading towards bankruptcy. They were going to be coming Northeastern Territory again. That's where they were headed.
What convinced Shawn to stay? But Razor and Diesel left, and that's Hall and Nash for those that don't know. And he stayed.
That is, and that's what I'm saying. I don't have this evidence on my computer, not at all, right? But what I do have is a narrative, and I have these things, and you're so right. Why is this clique of guys that were so
and there's
close?
Other factors, by
they
the
go
way.
to WCW, but this guy stays?
Yeah, like something's going up here now. Now, my thing is this, right? Let's really like break it down a little bit, because I brought those things up, and then the other thing that doesn't add up, Shawn Michaels isn't the big, like look at all the dudes that were Vince guys even after the Shawn era. They were Warriors, big, awful dudes.
Yep.
Yeah, like those are the guys. Brock Lesnar, like big, buffy dudes, meaty dudes. Like no offense, even in the scandal that he got caught with, he had a thing for big dudes banging girls while you watch or some shit. I don't know. But that's what Vince was into. But here's my thing. why did Vince have such a like? Why did he give the Click so many passes? Why did he give Shawn so many passes? Of all the things that we get told, oh, Brett, he wasn't a team player. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to do that. Shawn Michaels was allowed to vacate the belt how many times? He was allowed to pretend like his knee was injured while he's doing backflips off the top rope.
Lost his smile, remember?
He lost his smile, and Vince is, and he alluded to it, by the way. Like Vince is crying when Shawn Michaels cutting a promo.
Yes.
Like, why is Vince crying? Why?
He said that in the interview.
Maybe they had a father-son type of relationship, but Brett and Vince had a father, son type of relationship. This was just a little different. Like you hear the stories that Son used to tell about that he tried to hook up, Brett and I'm sorry, Shawn and Sonny together. Like, doesn't that sound like why was he trying to hook them up together? Like knowing that Sonny's married and why was he looking out for Brett so much? It just doesn't like. I'm not saying it's true. What Brett said is true, but it is starting to make people talk a little bit, right? Shout out to Low Nose Boxing Hip Thrust Munguia in the building. Drop the link. Well, we'll see
that's a classic reference, champ. I appreciate it. Hey, head over to Infighting FX, champ. I'm over there going live. Actually had Ness on earlier today. Shout out to the Boxing Voice.
So I'm just trying to understand like how sexual was he? Why was Shawn Michaels allowed to basically do strip teases? You know what I mean? To the point where I would literally change the channel. I don't want to make people think I was a little gay kid watching Shawn Michaels, strip tease live on television. I mean that's how bad it was with this guy, right?
Like what were they having him do Playgirl for, right? Because all the metrics in the world have always told us that it's not women that buy Playgirl, it's men that buy Playgirl. So, you know what I mean? That all adds to that perspective.
And then there's that very, how can I say it? When he uses a DX and he's pointing at a fan and he's doing the motions with his hand and his mouth and caressing the make-believe large, right? Rooster, right?
Oh, oh god.
Like man, that was a little too detailed. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think Jameson can get it as good as that, like without it actually being there. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
No.
And then of course, and by the way, he has called Shawn that, like you mentioned, rightfully so. The H word before, like we know what the H stands for, right? On Triple H and HBK, and that's for, I don't want to say the word on YouTube, but that's he called that out. Like it is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
Now the question is Brett onto something? Like has he been holding on to this, or did he just have an epiphany, or like what? Like what? Why didn't he bring this up to you? Because he keeps saying, because I gotta criticize him a little bit, but before I do, anything else you want to add before I criticize Brett a little bit?
Yeah, I want to add one more thing. You had gone through a bunch of the stuff that you were referencing in terms of Vince's like proclivities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, how do I do this gently? Okay, so what we learned in the lawsuit that's come out of Vince is he has had several adult toys named after wrestlers. And in one of the affidavits that we have learned of, he used a giant purple sex toy.
Oh, that's an Undertaker one, right?
The Undertaker one. Yes, he named it the Undertaker, which, man, I've had bro friends over the years. I played football, baseball, you know what I mean? If I would have ever learned any one of them had a place for me in their bedroom activities, that's it. I'm distancing myself. I'm distancing. Like, not only that, like I'm not coming over to your house for dinner. You know what I mean? Like it's It's weirdo stuff, but I think that's a big part of this too. It adds to
there's something tied to the Montreal screw job to this as well. Obviously, this like that was the big. I was caught between two lovers, right? That's basically what he was saying. What I will say, it's never ever made sense to me why Vince wasn't like. I remember when Bret was like, you know, what if I want to stay? If I want to stay and I want you to honor my contract, then what? And I remember he explained how Vince was just like, well, then I'm going to have you lose every match of Shawn, every match imaginable, cage matches, this type of match. He's going to just beat you. He's going to bury you for months. And like but like, why? You knew that, especially after the Hell in a Cell match, by the way, Mario, you knew that like it wasn't a Hell in a Cell. It was like the casket match, right? Where he injured his back, Shawn. At least maybe it wasn't in Vince's bedroom. Maybe it wasn't a casket match, but like we're told it was in a casket match, right? That joke went over everybody's head. But like, why so eager? Like, look back. Just think about this. That was in November, Survivor Series, right? 97. The first quarter of 2000 of 98, Shawn's gone. And they thought he was retired for good with a bad back and supposedly Undertaker, speaking of Undertaker, had to like threaten to beat up Shawn by taping his wrist or whatever, right? Yep. So you got rid of a prime Bret Hart who had a lot of heat, who was wrestling some of his best matches at the time. You're gonna let him go to WWE, WCW, and you favored and stuck with the injured HBK, was obviously not reliable.
Yeah.
Like that. No one ever like brings that part up. And here's the other thing about the Montreal screw job. Like, why people don't know this, Mario, but Bret was already done with all his dates. He didn't have to do anything. Like, Bret could have just stayed home and there's nothing Vince could have done about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But now time wise, he still had time with Bret. He didn't necessarily need to let Bret go yet. Like, there was still enough time to get the belt off of him. He this is a misconception that if he won or if he retained a belt and if he didn't show up the next night on Raw or whatever, that for whatever reason he was going to be gone from the company. No, like there was a no complete clause still, right?
Yeah. No, and on top of that, by the way, there was this fear, or there's people that say that Vince had this fear that he would show up on Nitro with the WWF belt, right? The way that Medusa threw the WWF belt in the trash on Nitro. He was so scared of that. There was a clause in every single wrestler's contract after Ric Flair that stated it. I mean, you would have been sued for millions and millions. There would have been no way they would have done that. So, you know what I mean? Like, that again goes to your point.
Bro, I guess what I'm trying to hit home is there was obviously this eagerness, right? I'm not saying they were lovers, but if they were lovers, it would explain a lot, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying that if they were lovers, like the pieces in the puzzle, they fit together better, right? Like, all of a sudden, you wanted to get rid of Bret Hart. You said, like, I get you were going through financial, but you were paying like $700,000, $800,000 to Shawn Michaels every year. Like, he had a high end 3-digit contract. So yeah. I'm trying to figure out, right? Why were you so eager to keep the guy that wasn't even on WrestleMania 13, almost wasn't going to show up to WrestleMania 14, a guy that was vacating the belt and losing his smile, and why were we so eager to keep him around, and why were we giving him this special treatment along with his crew, the whole clique?
Can I give a juxtaposition here, because well said, right? And Lowe made a good point that I want to add to yours. He said, he's making a separate point, right? In context for him, he's like, hey, Shawn Michaels, to his credit, he was a born again Christian. Sure. And that's a great point. Very important. However, that adds to the whole thing, right? You bring in back a guy with that much baggage and you position him in the same spot. Understandably, he's a star. Understandably, he's one of the greatest workers of all time, possibly the best behind Bret. That said, though, he isn't the same gimmick, right? He is a born-again Christian, and all of his programs and feuds revolve around it at some point, right? The JBL stuff, all of that. So you bring back a whole different character, but you still give him the same sort of grace that you extend to no one else in the history of this company that isn't named Hulk Hogan and that isn't named John Cena and that isn't named The Undertaker. 3 guys that ultimately bowed the knee to Vince throughout their career. So again, it does not add up, whether you're talking about the first chapter of Shawn's career or the second brilliant exit of his career. Neither of them is Vince's. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Now, what I will say is this. The optics of it is not a good look for Bret, right? It first of all, Bret's never directly said this, and he's done a lot of interviews, obviously, about Montreal, right? He's done a lot of interviews where he's mentioned Vince and Shawn, and he's never before mentioned, hey, these guys were lovers, right?
Yeah.
And now he's bringing it up. And it does, I could see there's people that are already kind of tired of him, right?
It's like a snowball effect, more and more.
Yeah. It's like, do you have to make the story more extreme now? Like what is he going to say next, right? And
yep.
And when he says if Shawn was right here, I would tell her right to his face. They've already done a face-to-face, full, open interview with JR. Where they talked for a whole hour about everything, and Bret never brought that up.
I appreciate you doing this too. You do this often. I appreciate it. Giving both sides, because you're right. You're right.
No, what I'm saying is, you don't say if he was here. I would say it to his face when you've had multiple opportunities,
multiple chances. Exactly.
To say it to his face.
That's a fair point. I hadn't actually really considered that, only because for me, I think it's so complicated, right? The lore of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart's feud is so complicated that when you kind of like dial in and then you add years of context and transparency that age and wisdom give you, perhaps at this stage in Bret's life, he's, comfortable enough with the thought that, hey, maybe these 2 guys that I was really close to might have had this relationship. And while it seems crazy, it would explain a lot of mystery. So like, I don't see it as a thing where it's like he's had this idea the whole time. To me, it was more like as the years have gone and the things that continue to remain a mystery are to a degree added up and rationalized with the idea that Vince and Shawn were lovers. That's it. It sounds crazy. It sounds really crazy.
It is crazy.
Again, only he was there. So it's like, I don't know.
It is absolutely crazy just to say it. Doesn't mean it's not true, but look, Bret's not saying he saw them. He's not saying he saw anything. He's basically, I guess this is the logical conclusion in his head as to why Montreal happened to begin with. What I will say is this, man. Look, I've always sided with Bret with the Montreal screw job. I have, and I still do. But not all of this, like I've always said this, and I still stand by this. These interviewers, they ask him these questions, right? That's why he keeps talking about it, and he doesn't change the story, right? He'll add some things, but he doesn't change the story or his narrative. And a lot of these, so people just they have this image like, oh man, Bret, he just keeps talking about Montreal. Well, that's because when Bret's on a stage, these interviewers ask him about Montreal, right?
All the time,
He's not just randomly bringing it up, like they're bringing it up because they know that's going to get the clicks. They know Bret's going to say something. They know it's going to get them attention, and so they're in the business of getting clicks and getting attention. I get all that. But I will say this, man, there's only so much I could put on the media members or podcasters. Like, for Bret's own good, like, he needs to, like, move on. He needs to start telling these guys, look, man, I've said I'm done talking about Montreal. I've talked about it to death, and then let it be. I think that should be his next thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much material to burn on, so much horrible material today to bury. There's so many, anecdote and stories you could tell. Um, there's so much good material out there for Bret to talk about.
Yeah.
There's Owen
Well,
Hart stories you could tell. There's
to be
stories from the
fair,
road you could tell. There's look at all the great matches of his career. There's critiques he could offer on the current product that people will really buy into. I'm done with hearing about Montreal, bro.
yeah,
Like, it
I get that.
happened, it's done, and he needs to let it go. Honestly, at this point.
I get that. To be fair, the other clip that didn't go as viral, not even close, that was from that same interview, was Bret saying that he hates the current product, that it's unwatchable for him. And he specifically
Which I
called out
agree with.
Sheamus. He called out Sheamus, the wrestler in WWE, for his fake punches. That's what he called him. He called them his fake punches. He said he needs to go back and learn how to throw a punch.
Bret like drops. You know what I respect about Bret? People hate this about him. I don't know why. Like, he drops. He name drops, bro. He doesn't do like, oh, I don't want to say any names. Like, remember when the Undertaker came out and said the product is soft, and he just kept it kind of vague, but he didn't say any names. Like, Bret just drops names.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Bret just freaking drops names. Now, I don't know why he picked out of everybody. I don't know why he picked Sheamus, but okay.
I don't actually completely disagree with his premise. Not that Sheamus is a bad worker, and he's a pretty stiff worker too. Like, his, a lot of his shots don't look fake at all. In fact, I think some of them are real. That said, though, it's his pacing, right? Sheamus has this kind of pacing that a lot of these other guys have that makes it feel like you're waiting for the other guy to do a move. When Bret and Undertaker and Shawn and all these guys in the 90s and so on worked, the Eddie Guerreros, the Chris Benoit, they didn't waste a beat. Even when they were taking time, even when ref was counting them both for a 10, they were working the crowd. They were working storyline. They were working narrative. They were working the gimmick. Okay. And that is what is important about that era. Nobody works the leg anymore. Bret, I remember, had a bum leg for like 2.5 years of his career. From like 93 to like 95, Bret was limping on his leg. That is dedication to the craft. Today, it's just not the same. These guys have a slower, more methodical pacing.
There's no doubt
that safer. It's about being less believable.
The psychology is just inferior today.
Psychology, thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
It's just inferior today. It just is what it is, right? But a couple of things that I liked about it. Number one, very surprising that he, I believe it was the same interview, you could correct me if I'm wrong, where he praised Rey Mysterio. And
yes, it was.
No,
he's called him the GOAT.
Yeah. He's praised Mysterio before. That part's not surprising. The part is that he literally just said, "I think he's the best of all time." Right? He literally said it.
Yeah.
And he said, "I wanted to work with him." Now, why they never worked together in WCW? I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? But
they didn't have Ray at that level. Remember, it wasn't until WWE that he was a heavyweight champion fighter.
WCW was just putting Bret in there with all the workers. Like they were putting him in with Dean Malenko. They were putting him in there with I think he did a match with Eddie, if I'm not mistaken.
I know he did one with Dean Malenko for sure. He had
Benoit,
that with Booker
the Benoit
T.
match for in honor of his brother
good.
Owen. One of the best matches ever, by the way. But
yeah,
I love that match. Underrated, lost in the shuffle because it was on a regular Nitro, but whatever, right? My point is this.
Good callback.
That there's like if you're Rey Mysterio, like you want to so bad be like, hey, Bret called me the greatest ever. You want to be proud of that. And he should, right? It's a great compliment. But like Bret did it like while he's like calling Shawn and Vince gay lovers and going after Sheamus. So like he's probably giving Ray like those guilty vibes, like, oh man, so should I acknowledge it or not?
I know. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever worked anywhere and somebody bashes your coworker like right in front of them, and you're like, You did a great job, but that corridor sucks. Like, it just makes you feel awkward. You know what I mean? That's kind of what's going on here. So like,
Yeah.
I think there's so much that Bret has to offer. So many great stories he has to tell.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned that he went after Sheamus. I didn't even know about that. Right?
Yeah.
He gave Rey Mysterio like the greatest compliment that anybody could get in wrestling. You're the greatest ever. Like, there's nothing above that, right? And yet everyone's talking about what he said about Vince and Shawn because he's still angry about Montreal.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's to me that's really what it comes down to. And Jesus, bro. Like, at this point, Bret really, for his own good, needs to move on. You know,
Yeah.
like is he going to be on his deathbed? Like, still talking about Montreal? Like,
He's got his tombstone ready.
you know, like we're going to give you your last rites. It's like, by the way, fuck Vince and Shawn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that what's going to happen?
He's gonna have
You know,
he's gonna have his own artist rendition at his funeral with Shawn and Vince touching tips that he drew.
I mean, like, it's. I think I get why Bret is angry. I get why Bret has animosity towards certain people. But I just feel like, bro, you said what you said. Many people even agree with you. Especially with Montreal, you got to move on, bro. And another thing he needs to move on from, man. Like, and he's not that popular at the moment, but Triple H, like, dude, you can't be that angry at somebody forever. Like you just can't. You can't be that angry at someone forever, bro. He still goes after Triple H, and I'm not the biggest Triple H fan, but come on, Mario, he's not the worst wrestler of all time. Like Bret talks about him like he sucked, you know. Like,
but I do believe that there is some sort of credit to be given to Bret based on the fact that nobody goes after Triple H anymore at all because he is so powerful within the company. The only people that ever talk about him badly are people that already, explode from the company and are persona non grata. So
I'm not
when
saying
he's criticizing Triple H at this moment, right, even as a wrestler, I think it at least gives credence to the fact that Triple H is blowing it right now as a booker. You yourself has talked about how shitty the product is currently, and it all rests on his shoulders. So
I get it, Mario.
Criticism opens the door to the fair criticism that's not being thrown at him.
Here's what I'll say.
Product.
Has Triple H been blowing it? Yes. Right. And it's a reflection of the product right now. But like what I'm going to say is this. You could criticize the product. You could criticize the booking. You could say they could have done this better. They could have done that better. I think Triple H is not doing a good job right now. That's fine. Just like we criticize a head coach or we criticize a GM owner or something like that. That's fine. Right. The issue is whether he's doing a good job or a bad job is irrelevant. Bret Hart is going to attack him no matter what, because Bret Hart, it goes back to Montreal. Bret Hart is mad that Triple H successfully convinced Vince, right, to do the screw job. Like and he's convinced that Triple H was the mastermind behind it. Whether it's 100% true or not, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. That's how convinced Bret is of it, right? So it's just ad hominem attack after ad hominem attack. I don't even think Bret really cares if the product's doing that good. But by the way I'm reading it, if I'm honest, I just think he just wants to bash Triple H, right? He wasn't that good, and what has he ever done? He's never had a great match. Now, do I think Triple H is overrated? I do, right? And I can articulate that in my own way. But, I mean, let's be honest. Bret Hart has an axe to grind with Triple H.
He does. I wonder, though, if being fair to the situation, it wasn't one of the most pivotal aspects of Triple H gaining the control that he gained. You got rid of Bret Hart, and on the same night, you dismantled the top faction. You were talking earlier about all the collateral damage that came with booking Shawn the way that Vince booked him. And the one aspect that we didn't talk about was the night that they screwed Bret was the night that they got rid of one of the most valuable heel factions that they had had in forever. I mean, this thing was
they
gaining
were out of
traction as like
control.
a
No
figure
doubt.
four. I mean, a four horsemen type of stable. So when you look at what Triple H did specifically as it led up to the Survivor Series and the Montreal Screwjob and everything from that point on, he capitalized off of. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying
I'm going to
Brett's
say
the
this.
COO. I'm just, if Triple H doesn't exist, I'm just saying that Triple H gained a lot by screwing
He
over
did
Brett. I don't
gain a
know if anybody
lot.
gained more.
There's no doubt about that. And I just want to make this clear. It's not that I care about Triple H's feelings or even Shawn and Vince's feelings, right?
Yeah.
I'm honestly looking at this from like Brett's soul, man. Like you cannot carry shit like that forever.
Eat you up like that.
Like,
Yeah. That's
it's
a
eating
fair
you
point.
up, brother.
That's
Like
a
you
fair
got like
point.
you
That I
made
will
your
agree
point.
with you 100%.
Like believe me, Brett, we get it. Like we know. Like you don't like it's we know how you feel about it, brother. Like you know what I mean? A lot of us agree with you, but at some point you have to let it go. Right? At some point you got to just be able to say, I've talked about this enough, and I know I'm right about it. And there's plenty of interviews that you guys can look at that, and then that's that, bro. And if the interviewer doesn't have anything else to ask Bret the Him and Hart, then that's their problem.
You
right?
know, D, how much easier though is it said than done? Because yes, you're right. I agree with you fully. You got to let that shit go. But it's the better man that can do it, right? It's the more mature, the more intellectual man that can do it. I'm not saying Brett's not those things. I'm just saying that it must be a kick in the fucking balls knowing the two people that screwed you over the most, two of the worst people you ever knew, human being wise, are now the two benefactors specifically of the product that you helped build.
I think
Meanwhile, you and your family helped build wrestling across the world and gave it the reputation that it gave. And where are they today? The WWE just didn't succeed in screwing over Bret. They succeeded in destroying the legacy of the Harts to a degree.
I'm not saying this makes up for it, but in fairness, right? I believe that they've extended an olive branch to Bret. Like they put him in the Hall of Fame like 3 times now or something like that, right? Like he's the only 3-time Hall of Famer. Like they made sure like we're gonna have this Hall of Fame award for like classic matches, and they made sure Bret was in the first one. And I think that was an olive branch to them, and I think Bret was kind of holding back a little bit because of that. But then SummerSlam happened. I don't know who fucked that up. And look, Bret has every right to be upset about that, all right? Yep. But that happened, and now Bret was like, okay, well, floodgates time, right? Yep. But to me, it's like, brother, like not getting a seat at SummerSlam. I don't know if accusing Shawn of being a gay lover is a good, like, first of all, what did Shawn have to do with the seat? I don't think Shawn had anything to do with that.
Yo,
it's not like Shawn Michaels.
NXT though. He's Mr. WWE right now.
Okay, but it's not like Shawn Michaels had something to do with it. Now, I will say this. All bullshit aside, if I'm in charge at WWE, right? If I'm in Triple H's shoes and I hear, hey, Bret Hart's here and he's looking for a seat, I'm getting somebody, and their job that night is to get Bret Hart a seat. Yeah. Right? Come how I don't care if we gotta pay somebody for those seats. We're gonna get Bret Hart seat, right?
If we have to pay somebody to stand on their hands and knees and him sit on their back.
Would you like to sit in the suite with us? Right, so Bret Hart could have this seat, and we'll give you $1,000. And they could have done that. I don't want to hear. Oh, there was just no more seats. We didn't have anything. There's nothing we could do. I don't want to hear it. Right.
That's weak.
But it's whatever. Right. Like somebody would have taken $1,000 to give up that seat. Like,
100%.
Right. I don't want to hear they didn't have room in a fucking stadium. Right. And look, Hulk Hogan might be Mr. WrestleMania. Right. Or maybe Shawn Michaels is Mr. Wrestling, whatever, right? But Bret Hart's Mr. SummerSlam, and you have to get a seat for Bret Hart.
Ooh, all right, well said. Well said.
So like I don't care what anybody says, right? Plus, if you want to get in Bret's good graces, you should have found a seat, bro, right? So I get it. I get that Bret's a little upset and all that, but my God, he's letting the floodgates go. I will say this though, in that same interview, he finally clapped back at Jake Roberts. I'm glad he did. Jake Roberts is a hater, bro. And I love Jake the Snake. one of the best psychologists in the history of the business.
All time GOAT.
I mean, great promos, good in the ring,
Even
all that
today
good stuff.
or recent.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you right now, right? My God, is that dude hating, bro? Just hating on Bret and Shawn too, by the way. But always talking down on Bret. I just don't get why he was a champion, and he was in championship material, and he was in a draw, and he wasn't like shut it. Like I'm glad he finally like clapped back at Jake Roberts, right? So I don't hate everything he was saying. I don't hate everything Bret was saying, but man,
I want to just real quick circle back to something you said earlier, because ultimately I agree with you with all this, even though I 100% agree, as Sandoval said, that, you know, Bret has all these rights to have these feelings. He was done wrong. It's better to let it go, specifically though, because you have so much so much more to offer in the podcast format. You know, you hit me up to go live, and it's so funny because earlier today I was watching an old clip of Bret just this past year with Jim Cornette and Jim Ross talking about all this, and they were talking about what it was like that final run in WWE, being able to work with his family again in the Hart Foundation, and basically having the entire that Canadian Stampede run and those like 5-6 months leading up to it were basically all centered around Bret and the Hart Foundation and his family and the roots. And man, it was awesome to hear him talk about that shit. You know what I mean? And like nobody ever really focuses on that stuff because they all want their Shawn Michaels sound bit. You know what I mean? They all want the clip that they're going to be able to make it worthy or make it worth actually paying them to come and fly out and all that. But ultimately, you're so right. There's so much that he has access to that we have, you know, no perspective of his. Like he was asked about Brian Pillman. They were like, you know, was Brian Pillman like a weird choice for the Hart Foundation, or was he the perfect? And he was like, no, dude, he was family. And like he was talking about how Brian Pillman would come over for Sunday dinners with the Hart Foundation or with the Hart family and all that, and how he just fit right in with them. And even though he was his own guy and he was his own style, and that's like right there. I'd love to just jump into that. Like, well, tell me about it. Like, how did you and Pillman, you know, get along, being that y'all seem so different? And like, there's just so many different avenues you could go down, you know?
Brian Pillman, just a side note, one of the most like realistic like promo styles ever, right? In fact, I think he should be the prototype of how people should be doing promos today, right?
Oh yeah, that guy.
And what I mean by that, like he wasn't like over the like. And don't get me wrong, I love the golden age of wrestling as well. It had its own style, like the Macho Man, oh yeah, and Hulk Hogan, and even Piper and Flair had like that old school kind of promo style.
Hell yeah.
But when people think promo, that's what they think about. But Brian Pillman, like literally, I don't remember how old I was, but literally had me believing that he was about to shoot Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
I 100% thought that was
and it felt like this dude was like, it felt like acting in a Hollywood studio. It didn't feel like a promo. It felt like a real dude talking, and I thought he was one of the best at it. And Stone Cold matched that energy with him. And the rivalry that those two dudes had was off the charts. And it's unfortunate Brian Pillman ended up passing away, because a rival, like if they would have had a good like long-term 3-4 month feud, that would have been amazing, right? I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Brian Pillman was that dude, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. By the way, he has great Andre stories as well. Yes, Bret Hart, he does. He just has a lot to offer, more to offer, and I just think these podcasters, interviewers, they're just lazy. They bring up Montreal. They bring bro, there's so much more that encompasses Bret. But I'm kind of done in a sense of like caping for Bret and saying, hey, it's not his fault. They keep asking him about it, because at some point you gotta like just be like, look, man, I've talked to death about this. I'm ready to move on. I'm
not even going to do the interview if we're going to talk.
Yeah. And as far as like, you've had the last word for the last like 10 years, Bret. It's not like they're responding. Like you've got the last word, brother. You know, and more and more people around their age group are doing podcasting, and more people saying Bret was my favorite wrestler. Bret
Yeah.
was like more and more of his peers is giving him his flowers, and the Undertaker's like, Bret's the guy that took me from being that motionless character to actually knowing how to put on great matches. And that was because of Bret, and even like Kevin Nash, and a lot of guys give him his flowers already. Like,
Yep.
we can't undo what's been done. You said what you wanted to say. When it comes to Montreal and Triple H, it's time to move on. It's my honest opinion. They're not responding to him because like you've had the last word.
Yeah.
Like it's just what it is, you know. I wanted to bash the product that I love because he's telling the truth, right? Because he's not a fool. It's not like he's just hating on anybody. He gives guys that he likes their credit,
Yeah.
right? He praises John Cena a little too much for my liking, but that's Brett's opinion. I mean, it is what it is.
Although he said he didn't know who MJF was, even though he did
He knows
he
who
did
it
a
is.
whole thing with him in AEW.
Like he knows who it is. Come on, like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Now, Mario, do you think Brett's going to get more extreme with this, or you think he's going to drop it? You think he's going to say something like, I don't know, I was just joking, or I was just putting it out there, but I don't know for sure. Like, well, where do you think he's going to go with this? Because he's going to be asked about this again. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think he doubles down. In fact, I think he probably if he doesn't regret saying it, which I'm not saying he does, but if he doesn't regret it, I think he definitely doesn't like the direction it's taken off, right?
Yeah.
So like for you and I, wrestling fans that know Bret Hart and are familiar with his work, right? We took it all one way, right? There's a whole demographic of wrestling fans that are also part of the LGBTQ thing, and they have taken it a completely different way, and so I don't think that he intended any harm at all from it. I also don't think he realizes that we live in an age where people like, oh, woke's dead. Like, no, holding people accountable for saying terrible things will never go away, and also people overreacting and trying to take the moral high ground on people will also never go away. So you're gonna have things where you may be saying things like this just to get a rise or just to get the clicks or whatever. But, for Bret, he has to understand it takes a narrative of its own outside of wrestling and outside of that landscape. So to be honest with you, I think he either walks it back the next time he has a chance to talk about it or completely stays away from it.
Yeah, I think he should completely stay away from it, to be honest with you. And if I was him, I'll start the process of walking it back. Like it's just say something.
Not
else
all at once.
there,
That's
like,
smart.
I'll
That's
just-
way
I'll just put
smarter.
that out there, guys. I mean, I'm not saying it's true, or just something like that. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Or because if he flat out just like apologizes, man, that's going to be used against him. Like it's this, right?
But
I mean, is he gonna? He's not gonna apologize. So they.
yeah, no way. He's definitely not. And that's the
If
other part
he
about it. It's like,
doubles down, if he comes out and like, well,
Oh,
I
shit,
think
I would
Shawn
be
Vince,
it could get litigious after that. D.
if he comes out, he's like, well, to be honest with you, I think Shawn, Triple H, and Vince were having threesomes. But if he comes out just like that,
Yo,
like
that
I'm
would
just like,
be
well, I don't know.
after that, we know this is all like
But
premeditated.
I will say this though, like
propaganda
I
shit.
want everyone who's criticizing Bret, and I offered some criticisms, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is criticizing Bret, and look, and I truly own the fact that I'm going to be biased. I'm a Bret Hart guy. I'm a Bret Hart disciple. Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Same.
I think he's the man, right? But and a lot of my criticism, admittedly so, it's just because I'm just, I want him to kind of not carry burdens anymore, right? But
Fair.
here's the thing, man. People say some fucked up shit about Bret Hart. And I have to sit there and these don't make headlines. Nobody makes a big deal about it. Bret doesn't even cry about it, to be honest with you. If anything, he just claps back or fires back. But I've heard just a couple of things. And God rest his soul. And he's also one of my other, ironically, one of my other favorite wrestlers of all time. But Scott Hall, right, mentioned about how Bret invited all the wrestlers to his house, right? and for a cookout or something like that when they were out in that territory, and was just making fun of Bret Hart, like oh, I went to his house and he had pictures of himself all over, and I thought that was weird, and then he had a big picture of himself above on a ceiling, and I just thought that was weird. And whether these things are true or not, I have no fucking idea. But what type of a man, right, gets invited to somebody's home and then you start to make fun of him for what he has in his home? Well, when he invited you to a cookout to feed the wrestlers and feed the boys, he's invited to his home. Like, I just felt that was very, whether true or not, very kind of disrespectful. It's like if Mario Munguia, it's like, hey, Eric, next time you're in the city, show up, come to my house, we'll do a cookout, and he invites me to his home, and then I come on here, right, and then I do a podcast, and I'm making fun of Mario Munguia's house. Oh, I went in there, bro. You're not going to believe what I saw. And that's an asshole thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And then other things. We had Honky Tonk Man who took it so personal that Bret said that his punches didn't look real, kind of similar to what he said about Sheamus. And then he's like, "What about what Goldberg did to you? Now you're like this," and was mocking the fact that Bret Hart got basically his career ended by Bill Goldberg, who gave him a freaking billy goat kick. Right. And then his face was actually from a stroke he suffered years later.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say what you want about Bret. Bret's never said something like that about anybody. Right. He's never got at someone's misfortunes like to that degree. He never has. Right. And then we got the Psycho Sids of the world that said he wasn't even talented, and Bret just wanted to do his thing, and he wasn't even, he's overrated. And then we got to hear this from guys like Jake the Snake. For years, Ric Flair was saying that Bret Hart wasn't that talented. He wasn't a great wrestler, and he wasn't that popular, and then he was a horrible draw and never drew any money. All not true, by the way. None of that's true. The facts don't support that, right? If anything, Bret kept everything afloat, right?
Absolutely.
And it was bringing in more money in the house shows than Hogan was in those certain times, right?
Yeah. So the money they made from that last Canada run kept the company afloat.
Yeah, there's more we could go into, but Bret has to deal and has had to deal with all these criticism thrown his way, right? And get blamed for losing the Monday Night Wars when that was Shawn, right? Get blamed for apparently when he went to WCW and they were losing apparently that had something to do with Bret. No, that had to do with the way Bischoff was running shit and the wrestlers running the asylum, and the fact that they were not utilizing Bret. I have to deal with listening to guys like Scott Steiner say that he wasn't underutilizing WCW. It's just that he wasn't that big of a name, and there was just bigger names than Bret. I don't know what the fuck Scott Steiner's on about, but that's just not true. Right? We've got to hear Bischoff, not take any accountability for how they just did not do a good job with Bret Hart. Right?
Yeah.
It's just,
puts it all on him most of the time.
Yeah, we got to hear all the lies of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was lying for years about Bret. Right? And then everybody always pointed out that Bret, he's always bringing up Hulk Hogan. Well, they were lying about the dude, right? And not to mention, and I know I mentioned Triple H was just saying shit about Bret for years, right? So Bret, before Triple H was even a big name, he was getting his nose involved in Bret's shit, right? Just think about that. Imagine you're the face of the company and this new dude, right? Sucking off the boss all of a sudden, maybe literally, I don't know, right? All of a sudden he's getting involved in your shit. And I could see why, I understand, don't get me wrong, why Bret holds animosity. But man, does he need to let that one go. All right.
Yeah. My final overall projecting point would be actually highlighting something somebody said in the chat about Bret's being wasted right now. And that's where I'm at with this, is I don't want him to double down. I still have hope, whether it's naive of me or not, whether I'm just too much of a Bret mark, to believe that he has something to offer still to the company, something to offer still to wrestling, and, to work with NXT and help the new crop develop the very, very basics and take it back to the fundamentals of what it means to work a crowd with a wrestling match. Okay.
Yep.
That would be probably one of the key ways of calculating and another trajectory of quality wrestling for decades to come. Unfortunately, the bridge might already be burned with this one, D, like you said.
Yeah, another thing that Brett gets kind of, I see fellow wrestlers. I saw Raven do it. Like who's fucking Raven? Talk shit about Brett. Like your claim to fame is like being controversial by crucifying somebody, and that's the reason like Kurt Angle didn't sign with ECW. Good job. Okay. But like here's the thing. All right. What can somebody explain to me why do these wrestlers like feel the need to like talk down on Brett because he took himself serious, right?
Yeah.
Because he took his
That's a
craft
huge part of it.
Like what? Because he gave a damn about where he was. And acting, they all act like they don't give a damn about where they are on the cards, and they don't put their input. They don't politic. They don't. You all do it, right? All of you do it. And in Bret Hart's time, especially, right? Especially in those times, being on the top of the card and being a champion meant you made more money, right? So don't give me this shit that like, oh, it doesn't really matter. You're just an actor. If an actor is making a movie and like they give these analogies that don't even apply, because guess what? Denzel Washington gets to pick which movie's on, right? It just is what it is. If Denzel Washington doesn't want to kiss another dude, right, because it's a gay scene, he don't have to do it. It just is what it is, right? So look, at the end of the day, Brett's the man. He just needs to let it go.
Word. I agree. Shout out Shoeshine.
What do you make of the criticism that Brett still gets from his fellow peers? And can you tell me a criticism you've heard a wrestler give Brett that you disagree with and why? That's my question to you.
That's a good question. The first of all, real quick on the taking it too serious thing, right? Like there may be a level that people criticize, right? About him taking himself too serious, right? But see, and this is what I would answer it in this way. I think that what they're mistaking is how serious he took the business, right?
Yeah.
How serious he held not just the art of pro wrestling, but the act of it, right? Like imagine like a circus performer who works with elephants, like just coming out and showing him like beating the elephants, and that's how he gets them to do the tricks, right? Or a movie where just before we watch Thanos take on Avengers, they go ahead and show you like a 15-minute breakdown of how they staged it all with green screens. Like it's about keeping the product as close to protected as possible, and I think that where they get it wrong with Brett is this idea that he thought being the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be meant that he was like legitimately like the badass in the ring. And I think ultimately what he will be forever the best at is bringing the authenticity. And I think the people that have had the most problems with him that actually worked with them, right? Like Jake and Hulk, like, yeah, they were around, but they didn't really work with Brett. Like they never even wanted to put him over. But when you look at the guys like Triple H and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and all these guys that think that Brett took himself too serious, a lot of these guys are the guys that expose the business the most. His three biggest detractors in that time,
I will
were the
say
guys
though,
that
in
fucking
fairness,
tweeted in a steel cage after a match to say
in
goodbye
fairness
to each other.
Kevin Nash, he does praise Brett a lot more.
No, absolutely. He says those were his best matches and the best work, at the time. But the problem was that it's this full narrative that's taken over from that era. And I'm sorry, but every single thing that you find from that era is the clicks behind it, and so maybe he's just guilty by association. But ultimately, it's that narrative that bothers me the most, because it's like, well, if you're not going to take it serious, then why the fuck should I? If Brett's taking it too serious, Triple H or Ric Flair, or Jim Cornette or Jim Ross or whoever the fuck is saying it, well, then why am I taking it serious at all? You know what I'm saying? And that's where we are today, is I don't take it that serious because the product is not good. It's safe. It's very safe. They had all the stars in the world on Saturday in the Survivor Series War Games match. The perfect place to do something big, something bold. And what did they do? They sent Austin Theory out there in a mask and a fucking hooded jacket. And they went and they shit the bed. I had 3 people in the building covering the event that night. I mean, not me. I mean, I knew of 3 people in the event. All of them told me the energy was sapped out of the room when the fans realized this was it. That's all they were getting for the night. And they were pissed. Now, I will say one thing, right? In the era of Triple H, he seems to listen a little more. He seems to be open more to like opening up and not being as exposed or not as, like on the nose, you know what I mean? And predictable. And so I think they might change it. You know, there's a chance that it ends up being Chris Jericho in January when his, contract's up. There's a chance they swerve it to someone else, but ultimately it is too safe. It's not protected enough. And the company doesn't do a good enough job of policing it. It's like social media exists, right? And the company knows that everyone thinks it's Austin Theory. And yet last night on Raw, you pretend like you have no idea who it is or who it could be. Who is it? It's a mystery. Is it Seth Rollins? He just had a fucking surgery on his shoulder. No, it's not Seth Rollins. He couldn't climb a cage. Like,
so
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's silly.
I want to play this clip just because it's actually one of my videos, right? And it's going to show again the level of lying. And in this example, this one, it's actually this guy, Hulk Hogan, right? And just look at the level of lying that he did towards Bret. And then people wonder, why did Bret always clap back at Hulk Hogan, right? And who do you believe when it really comes down to it? So let's play this.
You were talking earlier about how, it really is kind of a shoot in that, if you're the champ and you're drawing money, you get paid more. Why do you think Bret Hart has taken?
You could hear it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That so personal in recent years. I mean, even this year, he's still bringing it up, and he always brings up your name in a negative connotation, whether it was WrestleMania 9 or SummerSlam or whatever the internet story is. Why do you think that?
He brings up my name too. That's his fault. It's Hunter, Shawn, everybody. I don't know what the deal is.
I'm not exactly sure what he's saying. I mean, I've heard so much stuff. I just heard one general interview where he mentioned that, I wasn't his favorite person that called me, just some derogatory names, but I don't know. I've heard stuff that, I heard he said I was erasing his name in the book and single-handedly ruined his career, just all kind of insane stuff. I was really looking forward to working with him when he came to WCW, but he just fall off that bike and had a stroke or something. And there was some kind of limitation.
He got the concussion from
or something, right? Something happened. There were some limitations that I did get to work with him a couple times, and we just, we went out there and dug a little bit, but I was extra cautious because I can't.
All right, you guys could always check out the rest of it. I'm gonna play all of it, obviously, but I mean, you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when he got there, I wanted to work with him, but he just couldn't work. I mean, he had some problem with a concussion or something, and bro, like the concussion was years after. Like that was Goldberg gave him that. Like in '98, he showed up or in '99, well, whatever. Like he showed up like early '98. But what are you talking about? You didn't want to work with the guy. I wanted to work with him. He just couldn't. I mean, there was just something wrong with him. He was off balance. So like this type of stuff needs to be told about Bret. Right?
Yeah.
Yet Bret needs to shut up and just take it after people just blatantly just lie about him like this. And the Ric Flair acting innocent. Like, I don't even know why he brings me up. You've been talking shit about Bret for years. What do you mean? Like, it's just what it is. But anyway, look.
Get it.
I don't get it either, bro. Like, I'm trying to understand, right? Like, why there's this like animosity towards Bret with many wrestlers, especially from that era. Like, I don't know, I think he's onto something. I think some dudes were jealous, quite frankly. I mean, they did look at him and wonder, well, why is he the guy and this, that, and the third? But Bret was, he made the most sense at the time, man. Like, it's just what it is. And Hogan should have put him over. Hogan didn't want to. Why would you let Hogan leave with a loss of Yokozuna but not Bret? That makes no sense, bro.
Yeah, it didn't at all.
And I think what annoys Bret is, okay, so Hogan got to leave and pick who got. You told me, like, he got to say he's not going to lose to me, so he lost to Yoko. You let him do that. But when I said I didn't want to lose to Shawn, right, I'll lose to Stone Cold, I'll lose to anybody else, I'll lose to Shamrock, I'll lose to whoever you want me to lose to, but not Shawn. When I did it, it became the biggest, like, all of a sudden Bret was framed as being the most spoiled brat. He's taking it too serious.
Difficult to work with and unreasonable. Vince told him at the beginning of the run, you can lose the title however you want. And then Jim Cornette said this on that episode I was telling you about, where he said, you want to talk about all the things that went wrong with Montreal Screwjob and who is to blame. But but that conversation takes away from the responsibility on Vince in the first place. Like, right. Why did you not take the belt off of Bret before breaching his fucking contract? Like, why not? Like, why would you have ever thought, hey, let me breach his contract while he's the champ? Let me just really piss him off and make the situation volatile to the point where I put myself in a corner. There's so many different things that Vince
Mario,
did wrong.
The reason
that,
look, here's the cold hard truth. Like, the reason Bret got the belt because the house shows were not doing that good with Undertaker as champion.
Yeah.
All right. So they wanted the benefits of having Bret as a champion, right? Breach his contract. They wanted to break the contract with Bret and then just be told like he's an independent contractor who had a contract and the contract was broken by Vince. Yep. And people talk about it like he's some like employee that needs to do what his boss tells him.
Exactly.
No, you got to. Vince is the boss. He should have done what he was told, and no, he had a contract.
No, he had them by the balls. They owed him $20 million. He was letting him off the hook it was a 20-year contract worth 20, I think.
Yeah.
And and he walked away from money that was like a tenth of what he walked away from WCW. They were paying him crazy money.
Like, here's a heartbreaking thing for you, right? Just think about, like, if none of that ever happened, or if at the very least the Goldberg shit doesn't happen, right? Look at all the great Bret Hart match. Because look, let me tell you something. I don't think Bret fit that well, like, with the Attitude Era, but Bret would have been perfect for the Ruthless Aggression Era. Perfect. Like, Bret was like,
well
perfect,
said,
right?
Dude. I've never
thought
of it that way.
We missed out on Bret versus Rey Mysterio when he showed up against maybe Y2J, against the Rock, not Rocky Maivia, but the Rock.
No, the Rock, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle wanted to wrestle Bret, right?
Even Randy Orton. Imagine what we could have gotten. Oh, imagine Randy Orton and Brian Pillman. That would have been fucking nuts. But yeah, dude, that would have been. Oh man, the amount of quality stuff. I've never thought of that, D. And you're so right. He would have been perfect for the Ruthless Aggression.
Bret versus
he could have done a whole Hart Foundation
thing, bro. Bret versus a young Brock.
What does that look like? Oh my God, that would be nuts. Phenomenal.
Like, and Bret is that guy that could do a match with Rey Mysterio and he could do a match with Brock. Very similar to Kurt Angle, right? Very similar, right? It looks believable no matter who you're wrestling.
You can make JBL look good.
We missed out on all that. We missed out on all that, bro. All of it. So believe me, I get why Bret's salty. I get why Bret is, because from Bret, he missed out on that plus all the money he could have made, right? Imagine all the merchandise he would have sold. Imagine all the, he missed out on all that, right?
Yeah.
All because Vince wanted to breach the contract, right? All because, Goldberg was too green and was in a position he shouldn't have been on, but whatever, right? Well, one more thing I want to touch on, Mario. We went on longer than I thought we would, but one more thing, and this touches on Bret criticizing the product. Let me give you some examples on what makes wrestling so unwatchable right now for me. Okay. Like, I remember when let me tell you one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't know if they still do this, but my God, did I hate this. They would show wrestler A walking to the ring. Wrestler B walks to the ring. Ding, ding. We'll be right back after and then they'll go to commercial. Why the fuck are you going to, the bell just rang, you're going to commercial? Like, what? Right? And then I guess they get the cue, okay, we're back on TV, and then they go to commercial in the middle of a match. Like, you're going to commercial. Like, what are we doing? Like, what? I get that it's scripted, but what the fuck are you doing? Like, theoretically, I know it's a script, but like, can't the match just end at any point? What if the match ends while you're on commercial? Why don't the matches ever end while you're on commercial? Why are they always in a headlock when you come back from commercial? Like, what, like just little things. I know it's like a small thing, but my God, do they irritate me? Because if we compare and contrast, when Bret Hart wrestled the 1, 2, 3 Kid on Monday Night Raw, right?
Classic.
Bret Hart threw him, I think it was against the rail or like against the post or something, right? And then the ref was like, he halted the action to check on the guy's shoulder, and then they went to commercial. See how brilliant that is?
Sure.
It's like a very small thing, but hey, while we check on the kid's injuries, we're going to go to these commercial breaks. We come back for commercial break. Let's resume the match, right? Like those little things that they're so lazy, bro. You brought up the Bret selling the leg, right? I mean, they do work the leg and the arms. They just forget that their arm and leg were worked on like a minute later.
That's
right?
all. And after the match, they're like perfectly fine, like
and
celebrating.
working the leg and the arms are just randomly done. Like, there's no real reason or psychology behind it.
No,
It's just
they go out and they go balls to the wall. Yeah.
The actual wrestling is just filler. That's all it is. And then they just give you the high spots, and then they have to kick out every time, right? Or else.
Oh, you hate yourself some near falls, D. I know that.
Right. Because the marks are going to get mad if you don't have at least 7 near falls. It's not a great match, apparently, right? Because the marks will get mad at you if you end it that way, right? Like this is the product we have nowadays, right? We have guys that you could visibly see them waiting on the other guy to do something.
That's
They're supposed to be emulating the match.
Yeah, that's the big red flag for me, D. Last night was supposed to be the aftermath show for Survivor Series. It should have been huge. It was actually a good Raw. It just wasn't, they didn't have any of the stars there. But LA Knight, Jey Uso wrestled to get to the finals of the John Cena tournament. They had a great match, D. It was such a good match. And let me tell you what took me out of it. There was a moment where
how many commercial breaks during the match?
2. They had 2 during the match.
And we're on Netflix. End during the commercial break, right?
No, and we're on Netflix too, by the way. So you had this moment where Jey Uso is working a move, and LA Knight reverses it and turns it into a top of the turnbuckle suplex, not middle rope to the top. I mean, both of them are on the top turnbuckle.
Should have ended right there.
And he suplexes him. Jey Uso takes the bump, immediately jumps up out and starts slamming the mat like if he just stubbed his toe. Like if he had just hit his funny bone. Like if he had just accidentally hit his shins by kicking a razor the wrong way. That's what he was doing. Like if he didn't just take a crash that should have completely discombobulated his brain, made his body felt like it was in a car wreck, and yes, probably should have been either the finish or led directly to the finish. That took me out.
Why do these? Like think every time wrestlers do the way you described it, I haven't looked at it, but the way you described the move, right? Sounds like a high impact move, right? Mm-hmm. So every time there's a high impact move, now they're professionals, so it doesn't happen often, but the chances of injury go up, right? So like you're putting your body on the line to do it, then you should give the payoff to yourself and to the audience, right?
Yeah,
that should have been the end of the match. Like you took the risk, it's worth it. Boom, it was worth it to do it, right? I get so frustrated. I get so frustrating watching this product because it's it's number one, it's too predictable.
Yes.
Number two, well, they could so swerve you and all that. I get it, right? It's I just can't stand how how they make it obvious that it's scripted, right? It's just obvious. It stands out, like it hits you like in the face. Like it's crazy to me. I don't like seeing guys wait for the other guy to do a super kick. I just don't like it. I think you're supposed to have. They need to improve the psychology here, right? They need to have a rhyme and reason and not have any wasted movement.
Exactly.
And everything has to have purpose, right? It's I'm sorry, but let me because you mentioned about how Jey Uso didn't sell that. The Elimination Chamber, all right? The Elimination Chamber has been sold as like this. It's all steel. I forget how many pounds of steel and carnage, and then the glass. I remember they sold the glass like it was this bulletproof glass or some shit, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I remember like the pods. You know how the pods open?
Yeah. I remember they were like it's.
And I thought one of the
it would
best
take a
shit
Sherman
ever.
tank.
I'm not.
Why?
I'm not the biggest Bill Goldberg fan, right? However, I understood what Bill was, and I understood what he was good at, right? And that Elimination Chamber match where like he like speared, like I forget who it was, like through the glass, like through the pod and all that, like while Triple H is really selling, like he's scared or whatever. Like I remember thinking, like, oh man, they did a good job with this, right? And they always reserve like the biggest, strongest dudes to break through that glass, right? To really sell, like that's how powerful this motherfucker is, right?
Oh yeah.
Like Chris Jericho ain't gonna be able to do that, or an HBK, or none of that. But you know when they killed it, when they killed that aura, everything they built up to that. You know when they killed it,
They did it
when I saw a woman's, when I saw a woman do it.
Yeah, in the
when I saw a 150 pound woman do what like Chris Jericho can't do, right? Only a Goldberg could do that, but she was doing it, like slamming these girls through the glass. Like, well, then you guys do understand that you've already killed the Elimination Chamber, or the effect of what it means to slam somebody through that glass, right? They don't protect the aura of the business. They don't protect the business itself. They don't protect the finishers. They don't protect the high impact moves. They don't do any of that. And all it's doing is killing the product.
Dilutes
That's all
it.
it's doing.
It's
diluting it by far.
It feels like the same match you're watching over and over. Even if the moves are different, it's the same outcome, right? Whoever the heel is going to get his heat until the babyface comes back, and either it ends in a schmoz or it ends in a DQ. That's it. That's really the same finish each and every time. If it's not a squash match, it's repetitive and it's bullshit. And here's the other thing: they run back these feuds so much. You know, Cody Rhodes wasn't even supposed to be in the Survivor Series match. He was supposed to face Drew McIntyre again for the title. That was the original plan before Jacob Fatu got hurt or needed dental surgery, and the dental issues ended up being worse than they thought they would be. You know, but that's like another guy that should have been like part of, you know, this thing, but ultimately it just doesn't work on any level. It's just, you're just doing things to do them. You know what I mean? Doing things so that it was like WrestleMania, right? With Travis Scott. Nobody thought that out. There was not one person that thought about what it was going to look like to everyone to have Travis Scott come out and be that person. You know what they were thinking, D? They were thinking, how awesome is that replay going to be? How awesome is it going to be on 100%. Raw the next night? That's what they were. How awesome is it going to be on TikTok?
but like I think they were I don't know if Jim Ross coined the phrase high risk. I just remember he was the first one to say it, right? To describe like the high flyers and stuff like that, right? Well, what does high risk even mean anymore? Right? Because to me, when I was a kid, when a guy got on the top rope, right, he either lands his move or that is the end of him, more than likely, right? So like, but these guys, they climb the top rope, and if they miss, it's just another spot. It doesn't mean
They
anything.
go through tables now
Yeah,
and
it
just
means
get up. It's like
nothing. No,
5
but
bumps of match. Yep.
like, there's no like anticipation of like, hey, RVD has just climbed the top rope. He's about to do a frog splash. If he lands this, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
But if he doesn't land it, oh, it's a high risk, meaning he's taking a higher risk for a big reward. But if it doesn't get the reward, that could mean the end of RVD. Like if the dude lifts his knees or moves out of the way and RVD hits the mat, like you're supposed to get like that it didn't pay off for him.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
But we don't get that anymore. I don't even know why they call it high risk. Like, I don't even know when dudes do suicide dives just to do it. Because I agree with that comment. Like, they just do a suicide dive to do it. Like, when everyone is doing a suicide dive, like
it doesn't work.
Like it's just like another routine.
Yeah.
You don't feel like oh man, like no one gets on the edge of the seat. Like, oh shit, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Right?
Even like a move like the super kick has just been done to death, to the point where even as cool as it looks, it means nothing in a match. Nothing. It used to be Shawn Michaels' finisher, D. Nobody kicked out of it most of the time. And now you see guys land them on each other 4 or 5 times each in a match.
Yeah, and they don't even have like a consistent, like, the super kick makes sense for someone with the frame of like a Shawn Michaels. Like, it just kind of makes sense, right? Now you have dudes with like their guts sticking out throwing super kicks, and it just looks funny. Like, 100%. I'm sorry, it just does. Okay, I don't got like we got like dudes that are like almost 7 feet tall throwing super kicks. We have like little dudes that are like 5'3" throwing super kicks. We have all body types and shapes throwing super kicks. So what do we got?
It's just it's like more of a gimmick than anything, right? It's like a pop of nostalgia for that moment. That's really all it is.
They don't sell the moves anymore. Like, I remember, bro, when I was a kid, I remember thinking like the DDT was like the most brutal finisher of all time, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because nobody kicked out to it. That's why. You knew the match was over, right? These dudes do AA DDTs. They do spinning DDTs. They do all types of DDTs.
DDTs off the turnbuckle.
Yeah, like the only time the DDT means anything anymore now is when they use it as a counter, which I think is the best way to use a DDT. But it's the only time. Like I've always thought like I remember Eddie. I don't know if he was the first one to do it. Like, countered the F5 with a DDT, and I thought it looked great.
Oh yeah.
Right? Made all the sense in the world. But everybody's kicking out to moves. Everybody, like, I don't know. I can't get into it. And then the stories just aren't good.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing compelling about it, bro. It just isn't.
No,
and then I'm watching WWE, and I'm just.
There's no depth. There's no depth, and there's no continuity.
Why does everything have to have a sponsor? Like, why does every highlight need to be sponsored by someone?
Bro, that has killed everything to me. To take out a table that has Slim Jim on it, I don't know, dude. It feels
it's like a parody, right? Because
a parody, yes.
Let me tell you, the first time I saw a table spot, and it blew my mind. It was crazy. Till this day, it looks good, right? Bret Hart was on the outside ring apron holding onto the rope, and Kevin Nash, bumped it to him, right? And he flies over, and Bret took the bump with TVs on it, everything to make it look believable, right? Now, he didn't get injured. He's a professional, and he knew how to do it, right?
Yeah.
But nobody saw it coming. It was a shocking moment. It was like out of nowhere, like, holy shit, right?
Yeah. I thought it was like curtains for him.
Yeah. Now we've gone from that to like lay there, don't move. I'm going to roll out of the ring and take out a table, and it's a Slim Jim on it. I'm going to slide the table in. I'm going to set the table up. What are we doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have the believability factor at all.
And then
there are guys that understand it too, and it makes it even clunkier.
And why do they even bother like doing the spots with the tables at the announce tables anymore? Because
they're the worst.
They look like some shit kids could play with, like at a playground. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
They're like these like breakaway foldable tables, right? And they're like,
what are we doing?
The constant evolution of Do you remember when the Attitude Era began and they stopped going for the fold out table with the black curtain and they started using that red kind of like,
Yeah.
that had that
Yep,
cover on
yep.
it? So this is the full evolution of it. Now, D, you got to understand that when they had this new rendition of this table earlier this year, it was said to be unbreakable. It took them 2 weeks and they broke the first one. And ever since then, they've gone away from it.
Yeah, and guess what? They probably did it with some strong dude, right? That to look
Dude,
impressive. And then
they
in a
do
couple of
look
weeks,
like the action
women will be
figure.
breaking through tables, right?
Oh, 100%. Bro,
like-
they do look like the action figure tables. Bad. Like exactly like them.
It's like
And the
ridiculous,
break's
bro.
same break. It's like a fold in and it caves. Like the table doesn't break like that. It collapses down. Right.
And then
table's not
the
broken,
part,
it just collapses.
like the reason that spot I told you about with Bret and Kevin Nash looked great is because it was shocking, right?
Yeah.
It was shocking. It looked dangerous. Like holy shit! Like you almost wondered, like you knew it was all scripted, but it made you wonder, like, was that supposed to happen? Like what's going on? Like you know what I mean? But now it's all obvious, bro. It's out of control. But man, we've been on for a while, brother. I don't want to take too much of your time.
No, man. It's all good. You know, I was actually going to go back on Twitch, so this was a good excuse not to. So, but did 4 hours earlier. So, you know.
So we could do like another 5 minutes to close out properly. But to bring it back to Bret, I think Bret has a lot of good points. And people could tell me all day, who cares? It's scripted, right? Well, movies are scripted.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that you'll be okay with the scene where a guy takes out the gun, right? And like the other dude doesn't react or like doesn't react properly to a gun in his head? He shouldn't act towards it or something, right?
Like the terrible Batman scenes of the past where the guy's got a gun and he's like 10 feet away from Batman and somehow he doesn't pull the trigger by the time Batman gets there to pull his move. It's like takes you out of it completely. Like I loved when Ben Affleck movie happened with Batman and they fucking shot him. You know, he's bulletproof. Like, yeah, let's see the bad guy shoot, because if you're a bad guy, why the fuck wouldn't you shoot him with a gun right there? He's beating the shit out of everybody.
And I don't know if you're one of them, Mario. I keep seeing people complain about Brock Lesnar.
In what context?
In many contexts, but apparently I saw a video earlier that he ruined like so many careers because he's hogging the spotlight or whatever the fuck they want to say. Mm-hmm. You know what? At least I get from Brock, right? That he's actually trying to make it look good. Okay,
that's true.
And people could say people could say whatever they want about Brock Lesnar. He'll take the bumps. He delivers the bumps, but he takes them too, right? He takes the licks and he gives them too, and he tries to put on a good show for people. Right? People could say whatever they want about Brock Lesnar. I'm not saying he's above criticism, but like you're never going to see Brock do a lot of the dumb shit a lot of these dudes do nowadays. Right? And one more thing. People don't even know what the fuck a worker is anymore, bro. They don't know what worker means. No. They think worker means being athletic and knowing a lot of moves. Like that's not what a worker means. Right? Now that means you're athletic and you know a lot of moves, right? Look, a lot of these guys are doing moves, bro, that these are the best athletes overall, right? The best athletes we've ever had in wrestling, ever. I see some of these guys do moves that I'm like, damn, if only they had the psychology and they would have that crowd going crazy after one of those moves, right? If only they had the psychology and they would be taking less bumps, but making every bump mean more, right? Because I'm not saying they shouldn't do the athletic moves. I'm just saying do it at the right time and make it count, make it mean something, right? They're just not doing it anymore. Like it just is what it is. I don't know what these agents are thinking. I don't know what's up, but that's where we are. Final thoughts, Mario.
Yeah, I think you know, a lot of what you're saying rings true. You know, with Brock Lesnar specifically and where the product is today, there is a clear distinguishing between the vets like Lesnar and even Cena. You know, even with his 5 moves of doom, utilizing it in a way that specifically pays off to his character through the crowd. That's all we're ever asking for, right? Make it make sense. And so it's not that this era is void of quality wrestlers that get it. What it is that the company, I think, has moved into a sort of like, uh, what's the word? Like where you have the conveyor belt, like an assembly line sort of production where it's like, okay, the first act of Raw, we're going to have the talking segment that basically launches the main narrative of the night. Then the second match is going to be like the opening banger, right? We're going to have a little bit of a dull time. And then the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to have something pick up big with the segment. It's like all scripted down to the same thing every single week to the point where nothing new happens. And when you look at the Bret Hart era through the Attitude Era, nothing felt the same. Like every week, something different was happening, whether they were, fucking crucifying Stephanie on the stage or whether, Bret Hart was attacking America for its terrible values and getting over as a face in Canada and a heel in America. Never been done before. And I don't think it's been done since, at least not at that level. So when you look at all that, there are the seeds there to have the best version of wrestling today. I think what holds it back is the grab for money and power that exists right now in wrestling, specifically with TKO, Ari Emanuel, all of them owning UFC, everything basically conglomerizing under one Rider season, Turkey Al Sheik, the Ring, all of this stuff is basically heading into like a single umbrella where, a handful of people get paid every time a wrestler, a UFC fighter, a boxer goes out on a Saturday night. So my final thoughts.
Man. Well, those are some great thoughts. I want to thank you for coming on, and
appreciate it always, champ.
We're gonna wrap this up. We turned it into a bash in the current product segment, but that's Bret's fault. All right,
I know, right?
With that said, guys, I gotta get going. Mark's gotta get going. We're out of here. Peace.
Yeah, peace.